Hey everyone, welcome back to the Malarkey podcast. My name is Chris. I'm joined here today by Wilson and Samit. Today we're just going to be talking a little bit about mindset and mental health and stress, what stress is and how we can overcome it, and some other factors as well that kind of tie into the subject. So guys, thank you for joining me again.
No, thank you. Yeah, it's wonderful to be here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wilson, what is stress?
All right. Stress is something when you set a goal and you're not able to achieve it. In pure layman's term. You set out to do something in life and you just can't achieve it. That's the problem. That is where you get stress. Stress is nothing but you feel it's a kind of failure, that you're not able to achieve things in life what others could have. Now, if you
It's very interesting, the way you're putting it.
if you are under stress, look, how would your body know what kind of stress it is? It is emotional, it is physical, it is mental. Your body wouldn't know. Stress is a stress after all. The very goals in life you set out, and that is where you mess up things on your own. That is where you get grumpy, you're disappointed, and you're not happy with yourself. And then that affects people in and around you. According to me, that is stress.
Samit?
I mean, there's multiple answers to this. There's the physiological, medical answer. There's the emotional answer. There's the spiritual answer. There's a wide variety of it. But if you were to distill this down into like one test tube, which has the nugget of what stress is, it is basically going into overdrive. No matter what the metric is, think of it like the dashboard of a car, and you've got the speedometer and the odometer, and it goes into red. That's stress. That's because it is now, you are now as a body, as a unit, as a human being, creature, an organism, you're going into overdrive on any one of those meters, and there's 1,000 of them, right? There could be your emotional stability, your physical stability, your hormonal stability, on a variety of factors. And in certain of them have actually gone into the red to push the big dial that's telling your overall measurement is in red.
Yeah.
And that's happening because a few of these underlying factors are out of whack. It's being pushed out of control because there is an imbalance somewhere. It might be a reaction to stimuli. It might be a reaction to health. It might be a reaction to bad nutrition. It could be just mental and emotional. It could be fear. It could be phobias. It could be any number. So basically what you said, just in a more, I guess, visual depiction of it, I think it's just the red zone for your body as it figures out how to deal with it. Maybe it never figures out how to deal with it. That's called chronic stress. But that's what I feel stress is, being in the red zone perpetually. Yeah.
I think stress is just your body talking to you. You know, it's telling you that it's there. It's like pain. You know, pain is there for a reason. It's there to tell you, I don't like this. I don't want to keep doing this anymore. So whatever you can do to prevent it, please do. So I think stress is similar in that way, where your body is telling you, I don't like this thing. Please stop it somehow. And I think a lot of the time people are often not comfortable with the idea that you are fully in charge of your emotions and the way that you feel. Right? So sometimes people are a slave to their stress, you know, so it's like the world is happening to me, not because of me. And so how I deal with what's happening to me in the world is entirely up to me. Whatever life has to throw at me in terms of the stresses and strains and what have you, it's up to me. It's, you know, ultimately it lies with me. It might not be my fault, but it is my problem to deal with. And so when it comes to the feeling of stress, which is essentially what we're talking about, we're talking about the feeling of stress, right? No, but when we talk about stress, we don't talk about, what do I think about stress? We're talking about how it makes us feel. And so that's why I think there is such a knee-jerk, innate reaction amongst us where we think, I don't know how to control this thing. You know, all I know is how I feel at in this moment. So it's almost a secondary aspect of stress that is most important. It's okay, yes, this is what I'm feeling in this moment. Okay, now what do I do? Right? So it's that secondary thought and emotion that we have to try and take control of. Stress is inevitable.
Dealing with stress,
life.
right?
Yes, in terms of dealing with stress.
Essentially accountability and action.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So it's about, okay, well, how do I take this feeling that I really don't like and deal with it in a mature way that's going to be beneficial to,
Or even weaponize it.
or even weaponize it. Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
I mean, this is exactly what the body does, right? I mean, the more you train for something, let's say it's a marathon, or if you're a runner, or climbing a mountain, you are putting yourself in highly stress-creating, stress-inducing situations, right? But the more you do it, the more you actually attune yourself to that particular stressful situation and you normalize it. So the next time you actually face it becomes increasingly easier. It's the same with physical workouts, weightlifting.
Yeah.
Pretty much that's how the body also becomes stronger. So in one of the previous episodes, we were talking about the concept of hormesis, right? Like you have a lot of your cells that are constantly under some version of stress, and that gets rid of the old and the damaged and the broken cells, and it strengthens the newer ones, right? So it's beautiful the way you mention it, because it's all about what's happening automatically in the cells.
Yes.
Is now if you can figure out how to do it for yourself, that stress is actually not as much a factor of restrictions that are placed onto you by your own phobias and your limitations, but it actually can be weaponized into a tool to make you grow and develop further.
Absolutely.
It's
Wilson.
See,
beautiful.
stress is also a part of where your desires are. I mean, what stress you're talking about is, more into gym and exercise, whatever.
Part of
is.
it, yes,
So,
yeah.
so that's okay. That's a good stress. You feel good about it.
Well, a lot of people,
I'm just saying.
a lot of people hate the pain.
They hate the pain. But then what I'm talking about is the actual stress. I met a friend last week. I met him after a very, very long time. And he said, Wilson, I watched your podcast. You guys are good, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. Can you tell me what stress is all about? I can't sleep in the night. Now, for me, that is stress.
Yes.
Then I asked him, what is it? What is it that bothers you? My mind, my thoughts keep on running throughout the night. I can't sleep. I've not slept for 5 to 6 hours at a stretch continuously. Now, that is painful.
Yeah.
So what's the answer? What does somebody like that
Exactly.
who is dealing with that
the first
emotion?
thing is, what is it you're worried about? You see, the whole point is, it's your worries. No, I need to finish my projects. I'm an IT guy. I need to do this.
Very, very interesting.
Well,
that you mentioned
but doesn't it mean you have been educated in that profession? You have been trained in that profession, and you're good at what you do. So your company is paying you to do that job. So why are you stressed? Saying, I don't know. I know.
See, that's the thing, right?
You
Because
understand.
you're wearing off now. We're wearing off that this entire conversation might go into insecurities. It might come into trauma,
Confidence.
confidence levels.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of psychological elements that are at play here,
And
emotional and
also
psychological.
the fact that not everything that you're stressed about is something that you can control.
Right.
Oftentimes, when you talk about people who can't sleep, it's the things that they're thinking about and keeping them awake are not even within their control sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sleep is about submission, right? It's about submitting from the active to the passive.
Yeah.
And then when you cannot depend on your passive because the active is too much to deal with.
And it's also others, people, expectations from you.
Oh, that's a whole ball of
You
different
understand?
Pandora's box
Yeah.
of
Like
conversation.
if somebody says you're bad, you will have a bad day because you take it so personally. If someone says something good about you, you will like it because for you, it's the other individuals or people opinions which matter to you.
So how do you develop, or how do we develop the emotional resilience to deal with that, with those things, with those stresses, even whether it comes from your environment or people that you know or your colleagues or whoever it is? How do we develop the emotional
For
resilience
me,
for that?
it's very plain and simple. Cut them off.
Okay.
Cut them off, absolutely.
just take them out of your life
Take-
completely.
Exactly. I mean, if something is hurting you,
Yeah.
and you're there sitting and brooding throughout, oh, you told me this, I can't do this, I can't do this. Cut them off.
Let me just play devil's advocate with that, because it can sometimes be the people that are closest to you that say these things. And oftentimes
Right.
the people that,
Hurts
they're
the
the
most.
ones that elicit that response from you. So if it's your wife, it's not that easy to just say, see you later.
Exactly.
You
Now
know,
that's
so-
a complete different
Right.
narrative you're talking about.
Yeah.
If it's your
So-
wife.
so-
But mainly what I'm talking about is an individual where it's connected to friends who kind of try and drag you down.
Right.
in situations like this.
But see, this goes back to his point.
It's like when you go and say I'm stressed, they want to see you stressed. You know what I'm talking about?
We are an amalgamation of the 5 people we surround ourselves with, right?
Exactly.
So, but going back to your point, which I think is very strong, your biggest triggers are in the hands of people who are most closest to you because they have the greatest amount of control over you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right?
And they know
so
the most about
oftentimes you don't have the power to cut them out.
Yes.
Right? But you do have, and I might be going into my version of the answer here, that you do have a system of, a process to build a system.
Right.
To build a system of managing that. Let's say I have a stressful situation with a sibling or my father or my uncle or someone like that. Now, let's say because of business or some other opportunity that I'm working on that is really critical to my sustenance, I have to deal with that person on a daily basis. But I now understand what those variables are. And I mean, this requires a tremendous amount of introspection, right? A lot of strength.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you understand how and why it affects you and how I'm going to limit that, right? So there is one aspect of controlling the stimuli that is thrown towards you, and the other aspect is pouring your energy into something else that de-stresses you from that situation. Often you'll hear about people going through extremely stressful aspects in their life, chapters that they just want to forget, but the only thing that kept them alive was they had multiple hobbies. They had other things that were de-stressing them throughout, whether that could be hanging out with the boys, it could be going out bowling, working out in the gym. It could be basically just having a proper positive conversation with someone that likes spending.
Well, these are
time.
great points, and it leads me into the next question, which is, when we have these periods of these stressful periods, and it can affect our confidence and the way that we feel about ourselves. What can we do to overcome that self-doubt that we all experience?
It's recognition first.
Right.
At all points in time, if we do not recognize it, then you do not know what you're supposed to do next, right? It's first creating the mind map.
Yes.
This is what I am dealing with. This is what I'm suffering from. We, from the engineering mindset, as they say, men are designed to be more analytical, right? They're just like, let me go in there, let me fix the problem. Okay, but have you defined the problem yet?
Yes.
Right? And often we don't, because it's more brute force.
Yeah.
Let me take a sword out and let me chop this particular branch because it's going to fall on my car. Yeah, but that branch also had a nest on it which had birds inside it, and it had a couple of fruits that basically fell there, and then more trees would grow out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's positive and negative outcomes. So the first thing would be to understand what is the root cause of it. Goes to your point. Yeah. The root cause of that is often distilled down to a single, really trivial, often extremely forgettable, immemorable aspect of it that just happens to grow from a seed into this massive
cascading effect. Yeah.
And it took years of that cascading effect. You said it's just like layer upon layer upon layer, and then you converted it into this painful, little pimple that turned into a boil, and then became a gangrenous thing that now you're thinking about, I'm going to cut off.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to cut off. What you're going to do is you're going to heal it.
Well, listen, there is an old saying that, only when a mosquito lands on a man's manhood does he realize that violence is not the answer.
Yeah.
Right? So this is it.
Patience.
Exactly.
Assess the situation.
Patience with pain is the key. But it's also identifying your weaknesses.
Yeah.
If somebody, if I'm under stress, as you said, you need to understand what's on the outside. But also it calls for introspection on the inside of what my weaknesses are. I know my strengths. I can work on my strengths.
Yeah.
But how do I work on my weaknesses?
Sure.
I mean, whatever said and done, you will always have a need to balance between weakness and strength. You can overcome your weaknesses, yes, but then it won't be completely healed.
No,
There'll always be a layer there where a soft touch will be there.
But that's what they say, right? I mean, you don't necessarily need to. In fact, you'll be at a greater loss if you get rid of those sources that caused you that stress.
Yeah.
Than for you to understand it and potentially weaponize it.
Yeah.
That I'm not only going to understand it, I might even own it.
Right.
Now I can conquer it. I can move on. I'm going to perpetually work. It's like a person who's a narcotics drug user, who's an addict, right? They're just like, I have the urge every day. I just figured out how to actually deal with that urge.
Yes.
The urge is there. Every morning I get up, I want to shoot up. Every morning I want to take a sniff, whatever it is, right?
That's natural.
Yeah. So
You
it's
can't
that
really suppress those.
there's always going to be self-doubt, right?
Yeah. I
So
mean, the thing is, you never suppress your emotions. If you feel close to someone, and once you feel he or she is the right individual to talk to, go ahead and talk to. I mean, I know friends where they have confided in me, stating a very, 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 very close friend of mine stresses me out. And the reason is I tell him, look, you do not cross these boundaries. And often he does. So I hate it. I just don't like it. I'm really impacted by the whole thing. So what I need to do? So my thing is, I understand, all different from where you're coming. For me, someone who is a friend must be a close one, great. But then he's not a friend if he doesn't understand
your boundaries.
Yeah.
Which are boundaries, by the way, that you need to set.
Exactly.
Sometimes I think we can be guilty of assuming that people should understand what good or what correct or people's boundaries are, but actually sometimes they all differ from person to person, right? So if, like, for example, you're the type of person that doesn't like to be touched, and people keep touching you in a friendly way during conversation, well, you're sitting there comfortable in the conversation,
Yep.
but you haven't told them that that's how you feel.
That's that age-old point of, like, in a relationship, they say, right, that the woman says, well, you should have figured it out by now.
Right.
You should have known by now what I wanted, right? I mean, like, I'm sorry, no, you're going to speak English and you're going to tell me what it is.
That's a different
and I'm
species
gonna
altogether. So.
No, but that applies to us. I mean, I can just be like,
exactly,
as you said, constantly be touching him and be, and this is camaraderie, right?
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
For me, this is the way I would connect with someone. But for him, this could be highly offensive. Or not offensive in that I'm offending him, but it's just like,
He just said, I don't like it. Yeah.
But unless you voice that and you communicate, and this is what
How
you
would
were
one
saying,
know?
there's
Yeah.
no way to know. So there's no mind reading.
So this is exactly what I asked him. Did you communicate? He said yes, but in spite of that, he keeps on crossing those boundaries.
Oh, then
So I
you
told
know.
him, boss, cut it off.
Lack of respect.
Speaking of cutting off, we've run out of time for this subject. But listen, thank you guys for your perspectives. And thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe for more content. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.